All right, you want to lose 30 pounds in 90 days? Yeah, I bet. Who doesn't? You want to do it and you want it to be extremely easy. Of course. I can do this, I can make this happen, I can even show you, but the reality is, you know you, and I have a feeling I know you too. But anyway, welcome to Walk Talk Vent. Let's do this. Hi guys, welcome back. Listen, yesterday it was all about the water. Today we're going to be visiting with Susan Siklowski. She's going to be giving us her expert information on quitting sugar. And if you end up liking what Susan says, which I think you will, I'm going to leave links to her channel down in the description below. And I urge you to visit her, give her thumbs ups on her video, and go ahead and subscribe to her as well. You might see that I'm wearing this tactical gear, bulletproof vest looking thing. This is actually my weighted vest that I got, I believe, from either Amazon or Walmart or Target. I'm doing this in solidarity with my viewers that are also buying these things. Are we goofy and nerdy for buying this? Heck yes. Nobody buys these things but nerds like you and me. But I've got your back, you got mine. I'm going to pause my voice now and we're going to listen to Susan here. Here we go.
If you're someone who needs to have something sweet every day or maybe every night after dinner, how do the sweets affect you? Are you okay with just having one small piece of chocolate to get that something sweet? Or does one small piece of chocolate or one cookie lead to hundreds of calories of sweet? So many women tell me that they need to cut down or quit sugar, but then they follow that up with saying, but I need something sweet after dinner and I need my sugary Starbucks drink. And there's no way I'm giving up my sweet cream, or if I do, what's the point of coffee? Hey there, Susan here, and I used to be a sugar addict, so I get it. This is also why I'm so passionate about helping women break free of sugar to feel the best that they can feel. While you're watching this video, if you find value in it, I would love it if you liked this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, feel free to leave me a comment about your experience with sugar. Doing these things ensures that more eyeballs see this video, which encourages me to make more videos. Now, in this video, I'm talking about sweets. I'll say sugar a lot, but I'm referring to the obvious sweets here. Sugary drinks, chocolate, cakes and cookies, donuts, pastries, candy, etc. The type of sugary food with no nutritional value that not only causes weight gain, tooth decay, skin problems, anxiety and depression, but causes inflammation, type 2 diabetes, cancer, strokes, heart disease, and so much more.
I'm going to assume that means Susan's okay with my bananas. And I'm also going to assume that that means that she's okay with you weaning down. We got to get to the point where you're off the hard stuff and onto the softer stuff like fruits, okay?
And I used to be a sugar addict myself, bad. So I know firsthand what it's like, and I'm proud to say that I've successfully kicked the sweets habit. It's amazing how much better we can feel when sugar isn't a part of our lives. Now, my journey to quitting sugar wasn't a one-time thing. So if you've tried before and didn't succeed, don't be frustrated. I had moments of going back to it once I first quit, spiraling for a while, quitting again, going through withdrawal, and repeating the cycle. Many of my clients experience the same thing, and maybe you do too. You quit sugar, go through withdrawal for a few days, then you start feeling better and you're super proud of yourself, but then a holiday or a birthday weekend comes along and you decide to indulge a little bit. Maybe you decide to have some cake or cookies because you're off sugar, you won't spiral, you'll be fine. And maybe it didn't go the way that you had planned. Maybe you had a lot more than you had wanted to have. And on Monday, you craved it, so you gave in and you had some on Monday and Tuesday. I've been there. Sugar is an addictive substance. When we eat sugar, we crave more sugar.
So I used to feel exactly the way she does, and I still do. What do you mean, Jesse? That sounds schizophrenic. Yes, in a way it is. I agree with her that you should totally get off the sugar, but at the same time, we live in a world surrounded by sugar. It's really awesome if you can find a way to control it. I feel like I can, but you're talking to a guy that's yo-yoed back into 185-ville twice. So sometimes you have to say, Jesse, I know you're saying I can eat sugar at the birthday parties, but I'm not going to. And if you don't eat cake, it doesn't make you a bad grandma or grandpa. So this is one where I have to say, sometimes I agree with her. Sometimes I'm more like, hey, you know, have the ice cream with your grandchildren. Okay, we're all human.
So I want to talk to you about the way that I like to look at sugar and what has helped me tremendously over the years. One thing that I used to do that many of you may experience is I would maybe get a little bit cocky or have a little bit of an ego and say, oh, I'm fine. I'm off of sugar. I can have a little bit and be fine. I won't keep eating it because I know how good I feel being off of it. I can stop. So then I would have just one, whatever, piece of cake, cookie, piece of chocolate, donut, cupcake. Then I would think, wow, that was delicious. What's one more? So I'd have another one. Then those one or two turn into 3 or 4 or more. And with me, it's almost as if there was a line that I would cross. And once I crossed that line, I would think, oh my gosh, well, I totally screwed up. And then I would just sabotage myself and keep eating more and more, even if I knew in my head that I would feel bad later.
It's really, really hard to argue with her logic, but just know that at birthday parties and stuff, I will have something sweet. I feel like I can handle it and stuff, but I will be honest with you guys, if that does happen in the near future or something, if I can't get off it, then we'll walk through it. We have an advantage by going right back to water and right back to walking. We can be proactive, right? During that walk, you can say, oh my God, that cupcake tasted like heaven. I'm going to go back to the banana. Okay. We can be proactive. We're not weak. We're strong.
I would think, well, I obviously don't have any self-control, so I deserve to feel like garbage. Then, of course, I'd be mad at myself, frustrated with myself, wonder why I can't control my own actions, and I'd give into cravings for days or weeks after. The thing that I needed to learn early on was to check my ego at the door with sugar and realize that as much as I wanted to say that I'm totally in control, I had to admit that I am in control over sugar unless I start on it. If you also need to get away from looking at sugar as a treat, we need to stop calling them sweet treats or saying, well, after dinner, I like to have a treat, or I like to put sweet treats in my kids' lunches. When we do this, we're subconsciously telling ourselves and our kids that sugar is a reward and it's pleasurable, a positive thing. We cannot think of sugar like that if we want to reduce it or quit.
So I'm going to give you guys a scenario. The 2 times I quit sugar, I was able to quit sugar for basically a year both times. I think the first time it was like a year and a half, and the second time I think it was like 8, 9, 10 months, right? Just under a year. But here's the thing. Every time you go to the grocery store, life is not as fun if you don't have a little sugar once in a blue moon. I'm telling you, even this person here has a cupcake for her grandchildren's birthday parties. I can promise you, I can tell by her look on her face, she was just eating a cupcake before she filmed this. I promise you.
Paying attention to our thoughts is one of the most important things that we need to be in the habit of doing when it comes to sweets. You never want to think that you're depriving yourself. You never want to think, I can't have sugar. When we think we can't have something, we're more likely to sabotage ourselves because there's a part of us that will want to rebel. We will cave when we are stressed, discouraged, or emotional. We always want to think, I can have sugar, but if I'm going to choose to have that cupcake, I'm going to choose to have the feelings that I have when I spiral and have 2 or 3 cupcakes, and then 2 or 3 cookies, and then the next morning be craving sweets and feel miserable, tired, and depressed. It's your choice, but when you're deciding, you need to associate sugar with all of the negative feelings that you'll feel later. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, what about birthdays? We celebrate with sugar. And honestly, we live in a very unhealthy world. 75% of Americans are overweight. 2/3 of Americans are considered obese.
Grandma, will you have a piece of birthday cake with me, please? We live in a world where 2/3 of us are fat and the other third are in denial of their obesity. Please, Grandma?
That's a lot. We can be part of the 75%. We can be part of the 2/3 if we want to do what everyone else is doing. Our society in the food industry is really influencing us to be unhealthy. So yes, if you want to make exceptions for every birthday or party or dinner out where you want dessert so you can celebrate whatever it is with that yumminess in your mouth for 5 or 10 minutes, you can. But you always want to go back to being honest with yourself. Will one piece of birthday cake on a Saturday make you crave sugar on Sunday? And then will you think, okay, I'll give in to my cravings just today. I'll get get back on track on Monday. And then how will you feel on Monday? Will you cave again to your sugar cravings, or will you have a headache because you decided to quit sugar again? Is it worth it? I personally choose to celebrate birthdays and things like that by enjoying the people who I'm surrounded by, the conversations I have, maybe a nice meal, maybe some wine, without consuming things that are addicting to me. My family or the people I'm with, they can have cake if they want to, and they don't love me any less if I don't. I would never judge a former alcoholic if I'm having drinks and they're not. Or feel free to eat the cake. It may not make you spiral and crave more, but if it does, you know the theme: be honest with yourself. Getting off and staying off of sugar is all in our minds and how we look at sugar. Do refer to my other videos about sugar on this channel to learn more about how we need to rewire our brains as to how we look at sugar in order to be successful staying off of it. If you like this video, hit that like button, and as always, be sure to subscribe.
It's hard to argue with people that are down to earth, isn't it? You know, that's the interesting thing. I think that's why some of you guys like to walk with me, because you feel like you're walking with your neighbor or your good friend, right? And that's how I see Susan here. Listen, I want you guys to go to Susan. Her last name is Seklowski. I'm going to put it, in the description of this video. Go to her videos. Go ahead and give her a subscribe and give her a couple thumbs up. I think she's awesome. Anyway, Susan, thank you so much. And listen, why don't you guys grab your shoes? Let's go for a walk.
Hi guys, it's Jesse. One of my favorite things in the world to do is to put my shoes on and go for a walk. Would you put your shoes on? Would you grab a water? Would you like to go for a walk with me? There's so many fun things to talk about. Come on, let's go.
So this morning I had something interesting happen. I woke up with a little bit of a headache, and I think it was because I was up late last night doing video editing, and sometimes you're staring at a screen for a couple hours in a row, and it does start to, give your eye a little weakness and your brain a little soreness, right? And you get that headache type situation. So I ended up going to bed around 1 a.m. when I usually like to go to bed around, maybe 10:30 or 11. And maybe that's just how it is when you're doing videos and stuff daily. So I'm totally able and willing to do that. But what's interesting is when I woke up this morning, I still had that headache. And a lot of you are no different than me. You have days where you wake up not feeling too good. And it's real easy to call in sick to work. And if you have paid days off when you're ill, then, why not take advantage of those, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to ditch out on your walking or drinking water or staying away from sugar, because what if that headache goes away during the middle part of the day? So today, for example, 7 a.m. I wake up, or excuse me, probably closer to 8 a.m. because it's Sunday, and I had this headache, and I just thought, well, I'm not going on a walk right now, right? So I didn't go for a morning walk, but all of a sudden, here we are, 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I just got done watching South Carolina's women's basketball team beat Iowa, the Hawkeyes, and the girls team there. Very good game for the first half. In the second half, it was a little anticlimactic. But I basically said to myself, well, let's grab the camera and let's go. But here's the question I have for you guys to ponder. Are you guys going to be up for that same challenge the next time you have a headache? So think about this. You wake up 5, 6 in the morning like you normally do. You have a headache. You decide to call in sick to work and make it a day where you just kind of stay around home, hopefully getting better. And what if you in fact do get better? What if by the middle of the day your headache dissipates and you're fine? Is that going to be a day where you decide just to lay on the couch and play sick all day? Or are you actually willing to get your shoes on with me and go for a walk? Sometimes we have to do things, right? We're under the weather, but we have bills to pay, so we have to work. Well, I challenge you to look at your health no differently. Sometimes you have to say, you know what? This is how unhealthy people remain unhealthy, by not getting up and putting their shoes on and going. We are going to watch some videos today, or we should just have watched some videos, and some people think slightly different from me. I don't like to equate candy and sweets and sugars to drugs. Because a drug addict, if they're really trying to get away from drugs, they won't associate with people that do the drug, and they won't find themselves in an area where they're surrounded by the drug, because that's going to lead to relapse, right? With candies and cakes, you can't help but be surrounded by it. You are never going to see your friendly neighborhood heroin dealer put a commercial on TV. But if you're watching TV for any amount of time, you're going to see a couple ads for, Sonic and their never-ending, sundaes, right, and flurries. You're going to see McDonald's ads, where it shows a large Coca-Cola there with the meal and fries. You're going to see it whether you leave your house or not, right? When you go visit friends and family at the restaurant, you're going to see people celebrating birthdays. You're going to see people drinking not only alcohol, but also root beers and sodas, right? And so what you have is a situation where if you kind of put candies and sweets in that same category as hardcore drugs, then you're really set up for failure, On another note, these same people that say to stay away from sugar completely, which I totally agree, right, in one way, but in another way, it scares off people from trying. When you tell people that, hey, it's all or nothing when it comes to sugar, there's a percentage of the people that'll say, I'm not going that route. I'm going to find another diet where they don't tell me to get rid of sugar, right? It's because it's really ingrained in us. Is sugar poison? Yeah, it really is. But is it poison like, drugs? I just don't put it quite at that level, okay? When you as a mom or a dad or a grandparent are having a Sunday with your grandchildren, right? That's a special bonding thing, Now imagine if that same situation, you were bonding with your children over some, a line of Coke. There are probably some families out there that'll bond like that, right? But that's not what candy is, right? So again, I don't look at everything that has sugar in it as in, it's of the devil's cloth. I don't look at it like that. And that's coming from a guy that's relapsed a couple times, but I've also gone years at a time without having sugar, It's really a choice. And a lot of times when people go through surgeries like I did, they can find themselves falling back off the wagon and eating sugar. But heck, if you're depressed and you're feeling blue and you want to have a cupcake, I'm not going to hold it against you. The main thing is are you going to hold it against yourself? Because people that do that end up waking up the next day just like Chrissy G did, and they say things like, well, I already broke my diet, so give me 3 eggs and 3 bacon strips, Those are the reasons that we fall off the wagon. And again, I don't know if I want to put sugar as a falling off the wagon type thing. I'd love to hear your comments. This is one of those things that goes straight down the middle. Some people say, yeah, sugar in moderation. I'm not really talking about sugar in moderation. I think you should predominantly quit it. But I think if somebody makes you a birthday cake, I think you should have a piece, or at least a taste of it, right? Because I've hung out with people that are on diets and stuff, and they start to ask the waitress, does this have such and such in it? Is this gluten-free or this, that, and the other? And I know if you're allergic to gluten, you're allergic to gluten, right? Or sensitive to gluten. Those are things that didn't exist in the 80s. You never heard that stuff, There have always been people that'll take a box of cereal or a product and, read the calories and different things on the back. If you want to live your life like that, you can, But my thinking is, there's 3 powerful things with dieting, and you can see it all over YouTube. Some people swear by walking. I'm one of them. Some people swear by ditching sugar. Again, I'm one of them. And some people swear, what's the other one? Walking, sugar, and drinking water. So some people swear by drinking water. And again, I'm one of them. What's interesting, though, is those same videos tend to kind of just stick to one of those 3. With us, we're combining all 3, But again, those people will tell you to avoid everything at all costs because it's all or nothing. If you avoid it, it's an addictive substance. You're going to end up wanting it more, which is true. But at the same time, if you tell your brain to accept that, then every time you have one candy bar, you'll end up having a candy bar a week or a day for the next 2 weeks. So we got to kind of deprogram that thought from our brain, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong. I have yo-yoed back to 180 before, but see, here's the difference. I don't know if you guys remember a handful of videos back. I said that my show here is not necessarily for the 400 or 500 or 600 pound individual, because I don't even know if it's safe for them to walk, you know? My program is really, really good for the person that wants to lose 30 pounds. And the person that helps the most is the person that was 160, like myself, and now finds themselves pushing 200. Because that's where you're in that medium stage. You're not a big person, you're definitely not a small person, but you're a medium person, and that's where you got to learn to catch yourself. Almost all of us at some point in our lives will find ourselves in the zone of being a medium-sized person. And there's two ways to go from there. You can either continue growing and become a large person, or you can catch yourself, start making proactive moves, and get back in control and get a little bit closer to being a small person. I don't think this country is ever going to go back to 1955 standards where we're 5'9" and 155 pounds. But when I do my exercise, all 3 rules, I end up becoming that 1955 guy. 5'9.5", about 155 to 160 pounds. This is the way you do it. You drink predominantly water. Because back then, I don't think people had an endless supply of soda at their disposal. You walk a lot, because back then, most families had one car. At least I think, right? So if dad was gone with the car, and mom asked you to run up to the store, you were gonna grab your bike, or you were gonna grab your shoes, and you were gonna run up to the store for your mom, right? Now again, that's something I could be wrong on. I didn't grow up in the 50s, but I don't think every family had 2 or 3 cars. I have a feeling a lot of families had, a single car, Back in the 50s, we didn't have fast food. So you weren't getting 3 or 4 meals a day from McDonald's that included a large Coca-Cola, right? So when you start to look at these things and add up the clues and read the book and try to figure out the ending before you get to it, we used to have the right recipe for having a healthy body in this country. We ditched it. If you YouTube or Google the food pyramid that we all grew up with, everybody laughs at it, except me. You know why? Because the reality is, if you had fruits and vegetables, grains, maybe a bowl or 2 of cereal, the things that are on the pyramid that we all make fun of and say, oh, it's way out of whack. If people actually ate that way, they would still be 5'9", 155 pounds. What happens is somewhere in the 80s, we started going to fast food half the time. Somewhere in the 90s, half of us started eating at fast food all the time. And now here we are today, 80% of us are overweight. Do we blame that on the food pyramid that we've been ignoring? Probably half the families don't even cook. Do you think they're really observing the food pyramid? So again, everybody and their brother always laughs at the food pyramid and says it's absolutely ridiculous, I don't see it that way. I'm probably the only person in the fitness category here that urges you to have a milk and banana smoothie. A lot of people are against milk. Now, if you're lactose intolerant, hey, you can't have milk, you can't have milk. But if you want a drink that's almost like a meal, yet not a meal, why don't you just have a glass of milk? It's probably good for your teeth, right? And if you stay away from sugar and it helps you have and maintain good, strong white teeth, you might end up liking that, If you can avoid seeing the dentist as much, that might be some positive reinforcements for you, So again, if you guys search around, even though my stuff seems down to earth on this channel, I'm really quite different from the others. The reality is I didn't fall off the wagon because I had pieces of cake at family outings or because I had a shake once in a blue moon. It was because sometimes things happen where you get in a surgery situation and you're down for a couple months and you get a little depressed. And what happens with drug addicts when they're depressed? A lot of times they end up falling off the wagon, you know? But here's the thing. You get going back on drugs, a lot of times that is a for life thing. With us, you will always have this ingrained in you that if you walk, drink water, and avoid sugar, you can get stuff back under control. Let's talk about getting off sugar. There's going to be a withdrawal period, but after 3, 4, 5 days, you get over it. You really do. The toughest day to quit sugar is that first and second day. You know, there is no pool. And if you talk to people that have had real legit drug addictions, there's a legit pool for those drugs, right? There's something that magnetizes them to the drug and they crave it. Sugar's not like that. You might think it is, right? But that might be because you actually never tried quitting it for any significant amount of times. That's just like I tell you with this walking. I love walking. I do this every day, whether I have the camera or not. It's not because somebody's watching me or I'm charting how much I'm walking. Not at all. It's because I love it. I got addicted to it. That's why I always tell you guys, if you can't really commit to 90 days, do you think you could commit to 15 to 20 days? Which a lot of you are already in that zone. If you don't mind, put in the comments if you really are starting to like your walk. Because if you tell me, hey, I've been walking for 10, 15 days now, but before that I never walked, you never walked because you never really knew how much you would enjoy it. You've been doing it now for going on 3 weeks. Let us know. Do you enjoy your walk? Do you actually take advantage of being able to dive into your mental think tank? You got bills and stuff coming up? You want to know exactly how to tackle them? Isn't it kind of cool when you can kind of think about it while you're on your walk? You get to absorb that sunlight, right? If it's a nice breezy day, you get to feel the wind in your face. You're breathing probably better oxygen than you would from inside your house, you know, minus allergies and seasonal allergies and stuff. So you're going to start noticing, especially if you do deep dives into YouTube, that a lot of people agree with me that you got to get rid of the sugar, but they don't agree with me that you don't have to get rid of it forever. What I really want you to see is that you, 30 pounds less, can actually handle sugar every now and then, right? And if you get away from it for 90 days, I think you can actually stay on top of observing the 2/3 rule, okay? Because you got to remember, the human brain is a SOB sometimes. If you fall off the wagon and you equate soda and stuff like that to hardcore drugs, then just like a hardcore drug addict, when you fall off the wagon, you're going to go right back into binging into sweets. You don't have to do that here. Just have a glass of water, get your walking shoes on, and go walk around the neighborhood. The real difficult thing with sugar is that it kind of wears down our teeth, right? And it can make you feel guilty, and that can lead to more sugar, right? But let's think about it logically. You just broke your diet by having a Coca-Cola, 150 calories, okay? We know for a fact that a simple half-hour walk is gonna delete that calorie-wise, right? You might have a little bit of guilt, but if you walk, maybe you dissipate that guilt a little, right? You brush your teeth, get that sugar out of your mouth, right? I mean, if you think about it, even toothpaste tastes sweet, right? So there's a bunch of things that can trigger us into wanting more sweets. Somebody asked me earlier in the comments, what do you think of stevia? And what do you think of artificial sweeteners and stuff? And I was like, well, the problem with artificial sweeteners isn't that they'll make you gain weight, because in theory they won't, right? The problem with them is that now you're still eating sweets. So if you eat some brownies with some artificial sweetener, you know, you're still eating sweet stuff. So when the brownies are done, guess what? You're going to say, what other sweet item can I make? And if you don't have any artificial sweetener around and it's too late to go to the store, but you do still have that bag of Oreos in the back of your closet, guess what's going to get eaten? That bag of Oreos, right? So again, if you want, because you got to remember, you're in control of your future, not me. if you want to get off sugar, I can help you get off. If you want to stay off permanently and you want to stay away from it at birthday parties and stuff, it doesn't make you a horrible person. It really doesn't. But at the same time, I want people to not fear the idea of getting rid of sugar. And if you tell them it's all or nothing and we want you to stop, a lot of times people won't even start. Okay? And again, some of us have sugar, but we don't realize we have a problem with it, and some of us don't. Okay? I'm one of those that I can go on a good binge. But there are some of you out there that legitimately only have something sweet once or twice a week. Why in the world would you have to quit anything forever if you only have it once or twice a week? You're already eating it in a very decent, moderative way. Okay? There are some of you out there that do reward yourself once a week with a Coca-Cola, right? And now you want to be a part of this channel because you want to add walking to that. And you want to add water to that, right? Let's go. Let's do it. Remember, not everybody is into a 90-day challenge to lose 30 pounds. That's something I want to do, you know? I wanted to do a YouTube channel on something fun, you know? How can you dunk a basketball at 5'9"? But guess what? I can't dunk a basketball. You know what I mean? And even if I could, you know, what are you going to do that every single day until you turn 60 and you break a knee? This is what I enjoy doing. It's boring. But hopefully you see me as your walking partner, and hopefully I can make it a little less boring until you get addicted. Once you're addicted, it's no longer boring to you, okay? I love walking different routes in my neighborhood. Right now, because you're only a couple days or a couple weeks into it, you might just be walking around your block, and there's nothing wrong with that. But one of these days, you're gonna finish your walk and you're gonna say, you know what, I'm not done. I'm gonna go further. And one of these days, you're gonna put in the comment, Jesse, I had that day today. Normally, I go around the block two to three times. It's about a half hour or so. But today, I decided to walk all the way down to Target, or I decided to walk all the way down to Walmart. I just got done watching a video. I think it was a Good Morning America video from a couple years back. There was a guy that lost like 200 pounds just walking to Walmart every day. You can Google and YouTube it. Guy that lost weight walking to Walmart. That is akin to our daily walks, right? That is also akin to how, in addition to our daily walks, I like to walk up to the grocery store. Some of you are starting to walk up to the gym. Some of you haven't really thought about it, but if you think about it, when you go to the gym, you're going to step on the treadmill anyway. What's stopping you from walking to the gym? Unless it's 5 or 6 miles away, that might be a little much, right? So just remember, even though I think you should be able to have sweets during special occasion, there are some people that say it's too much of a risk, right? If you feel that that's the way you are, and I've had a couple viewers say, hey, sweets are my weakness, I have to stay away from it completely. Well, then guess what? You have knowledge about yourself, right? Do you remember that G.I. Joe commercial, or that G.I. Joe cartoon we all grew up with in the 80s? Knowledge is half the power. Go, Joe! I mean, in a way, if you know that it's your weakness, you know it's your cocaine of the food world, then yeah, ditch it. Ditch it. Here's the interesting thing that I totally don't agree with the food world, and this is split. Some of us line up on the, if it's fruit-based, it's okay. And some of us line up on the side of, even fructose from fruit is just not worth it, right? But I can't gain weight on fruit. I can gain weight on cake. You know what I mean? There's something about fruit and the fiber quality that it has. That fiber, for whatever reason, it just seems to pick out that gunk in your intestines, seems to help with cholesterol issues. And yeah, so it's really kind of interesting if you take a deep dive. There's a million trains of thought. My knowledge says so many people take all that knowledge that you can get on a deep dive, and it becomes TMI, too much information, information overload. If you take every meal that you ever had and you eliminate the soda
and you eliminate, let's say, 90% of the desserts that came right after, what do you think your weight would be? You know you wouldn't weigh the same, right? What if we took every breakfast you ever had, and what if instead of 100% of those breakfasts being eaten, what if you only ate half of them or even 2/3 of them? You know you would not be looking the same that you do today. You just wouldn't, okay? So then here's my next question. Do you want to be one of those people that only drinks water, that walks for 1,000,000 miles every day, and never ever has sweets? Because if so, you're living on a boring planet. We have to live on Earth, and one of the things that brings us together is having a meal together. And sometimes people like to make a cake in your honor. You know, if you retire and the place wants to make you a cake, it just seems like a shame to ditch out on that cake, you know? My thinking is you have that cake, and then that night when you go home and you take your walk, you're gonna be like, I love the people I work with. The people I work with, I'm gonna miss them because I'm retiring, or whatever the case might be, you know? But again, you can easily decline cake by saying, hey, I'm gonna take a piece home because it looks delicious, and I'm gonna take it to my husband or my wife or my significant other, right? So even if you decide to go the full blown, I'm not gonna eat sugar ever again, just be graceful about it. You don't have to let everybody know your business. You simply say, I'm gonna eat, but I'm gonna eat in a couple hours after I have my dinner because my significant other is making something special for dinner for me. Something like that. The only reason I say this is I've had so many family members that they'll go to a party, they go on one of these SNAP diets, so they can't even enjoy the food that was really made for them, right? And then 2 or 3 days later, you find out that they quit that diet. And again, it's like, why didn't you just enjoy the food that was made for you, you know? So again, if you guys want to walk every day, that's something I'm down for. But I even tell you, because you walk every day, you can take a day off whenever you want, okay? I don't think it's going to lead to you quitting. What I do think will lead to you quitting is if you go from walking every day to walking once a week. Once a week, you can take it or leave it, and you'll end up leaving it, right? So walk as much as you can. Drink water every day, even if you have a Starbucks every day. You don't necessarily have to try to lose 30 pounds in 90 days. You might be very happy with losing 8 to 10 pounds a year and just making sure that when Thanksgiving and Christmas come around that you don't gain 5 pounds. There's a lot of people watching this that would be completely happy with that, okay? Also, just because the average guy in 1955 was 5'9" and 155 pounds doesn't mean that the world considers you fat at 5'9", 170, you know? And even my weight, when I have my shirt off, sure, I might look like a marshmallow man, but if I have my shirt on and stuff, I don't think people look at me and think, oh, you're so fat. I don't think that. And here's something kind of cool. This is how we show progress. I was telling you guys honestly for the first couple weeks that I cannot fit in my shorts. Guess what? Your boy was able to fit into his shorts, right? Still a little chubby. I don't know if you guys saw that. Yes, look at it. It looks like I'm flashing you. But that's how we gauge victories right now. Even if I was the same weight, which I'm not, today in my socks, somebody told me I was really brave for weighing myself in shoes. So I thought, well, hell, I'm going to do a weigh-in without the shoes, right? I weighed in at like 177 today in my socks. And when I did that, I was still carrying the camera. But I've got one of these. Hey, enjoy your bike ride. That guy looks healthy as hell, real muscular. And he's on the bike. He's one of those guys that he probably doesn't have time to go to the gym today, but he's going to still get a bike ride in. Is that how your mentality is? Because that's the mentality of medium to skinny sized people or big giant people that are just really healthy. And, you know, he looks like he could be a football player, you know? That's the mentality difference between a medium and small person compared to a little bit over medium and large people, okay? Large people look at it and they say one donut is not enough.
Medium and small people say, I think I can skip breakfast, not because I want to, I'm just not hungry. Have you ever had a friend like that where you're like, hey, let's go get lunch, and they're like, maybe I'll get a salad, I'm just not hungry, right? We used to hate that because that's what women would do to us all the time. They'd want a salad, right? And now we shame them like they're making fat people feel bad because they want a salad or they're not hungry. And I used to shame them too. I'd be like, oh, come on, Becky, eat a burger. It's not gonna kill you, right? And that's gonna happen to you guys when you guys quit. I'm telling you, when you guys quit eating well, your best friends are gonna peer pressure you into breaking your diet. It's bizarre, but true. So again, sometimes you and I are gonna disagree, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. I find a lot of things that a lot of the gurus on YouTube say, I find a lot of them a little iffy, you know? And a lot of times we know what's bad in life and we know what's good in life. And just because there's a company selling you the Oreo cookies doesn't mean that they're evil because they flavor it with something tasty that makes you want it again, you know? Imagine if you ate a cookie and it wasn't so tasty and you never wanted to buy it again. That you would say to yourself, God, the company needs to do something with their recipe, right? So the companies are damned if they do, damned if they don't. My thinking is, why don't we teach ourselves how to just enjoy a cookie once in a blue moon, and then we'll call that moderation, okay? And God, it was such a nice night. Oh, the wind started picking up again. Such a nice day.